I was under the assumption that if the Steelers landed Aaron Rodgers and he was throwing to the duo of DK Metcalf and George Pickens, that would have been good enough for the Steelers this season to finally win a playoff game. But with Mike Tomlin making the decision to ship George Pickens off to Dallas, the Steelers' chances of ending their nearly decade-long playoff drought looks incredibly bleak. And even with or without Aaron Rodgers, if you don't have George Pickens, no matter who you have at quarterback, it's very unlikely that you win in the postseason this year. Which leads to the question, if the Steelers keep doing the same old thing and getting the same results, is it time for them to blow it up and start over? Should they trade TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, Minkah Fitzpatrick, and rebuild? I don't think so. I strongly disagree that the Steelers need to rebuild. With all of the draft capital that they have acquired for next year's draft, with them targeting a trade up for one of the top quarterbacks, it doesn't make a lot of sense to start over when you want your rookie quarterback to go into the best situation possible, and trading everybody does the complete opposite of that. And on top of that, let's say you go to the postseason and your rookie quarterback's first year starting and you lose in the wild card round. There's nothing wrong with that, because when he takes that next jump in year 2 with another good offseason and with you continuing to build around him and giving him more pieces, along with keeping your core guys like Cam Hayward, TJ Watt, and Minkah, there's a good chance that in year 2, he can not only get you past the first round of the postseason, but possibly into Super Bowl contention. But trading away everybody right now sets you back 3-5 years from being a Super Bowl contender. The Pittsburgh Steelers, going into this year, let's just be honest, it's a throwaway season. We as fans are pretty realistic about what this team is going to be this year. And even the past couple of seasons, when the Steelers have gotten dominated in the wild card round by the Bills and the Ravens, they didn't lose those games because they were the more inferior team from a talent standpoint completely. They lost those games because they were outmanned and outgunned at quarterback. When you're in a conference like the AFC that's home to not just the best quarterbacks majorly in the NFL, but home to aliens like Lamar, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, how the hell are you going to beat these guys with Mason Rudolph or watch Russell Wilson at quarterback? Mike Tomlin has been going into the playoffs, entering a gunfight with the straw with what he's had at QB. And even the last couple of years of Big Ben at QB, he didn't play good football in those playoff games. Against the Jaguars, he threw an interception and had a fumble that led to 14 points in that game. And in his final playoff game against the Cleveland Browns, and the Steelers' first 6 offensive possessions, and 4 of those, he had turnovers that led to 28 points by the Browns. The first opening play in that game was a fumble off a botched snap that turned into an easy touchdown for Cleveland. So with Big Ben and all of these turnovers that he has had in his last few playoff games, it didn't really help out the defense, and it didn't give the Steelers a chance to win in those games when they had to dig themselves out of an insurmountable hole. Right now, the Steelers have been a consistent playoff team. It would be one thing if the Steelers were struggling to make it to the playoffs with their current core, then it would make sense to blow it up. But the NFL is not the NBA. You just can't trade everybody and think that you're going to be able to recoup that talent that you're trading away. When you're getting rid of 3 future Hall of Famers, it's hard to replace guys like Cam Hayward, TJ Watt, and Minkah. You don't draft these guys just to think that they're expendable when they're nearing the tail end of their careers. No, you're supposed to keep guys like this around until they retire. TJ Watt, Minkah, and Cam Hayward are not slowing down anytime soon. Hall of Fame level players regress at a slower rate than your average player. And if the mindset is, well, the Steelers keep on coming up short in the playoffs, they might as well rebuild. You can use that same argument and apply it to the Ravens, the Bills, and any other team that has yet to make it to a Super Bowl in the past decade. Because at the end of the day, there's no difference between losing in the wild card round, the divisional round, the conference championship. It all is the same. Only 2 teams make it to the Super Bowl. Only one can win the Lombardi Trophy. The Bills have been convincing themselves for the last 6 seasons that every year is their year they get over the hump, and yet they continue to fall short. It doesn't matter the point differential. A loss is a loss. When you don't have good quarterback play, of course you're going to get blown out because your offense is not going to be good enough to sustain enough drives to give your defense a break when you're going 3 and out, 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 and your defense is on the field for hella plays. Eventually they're going to get gassed and they're going to give up a lot of points. Having an elite quarterback is the biggest thing holding the Steelers back from playoff success. When is the last time we've seen a below average quarterback in the AFC win a Super Bowl? It's been a while. When's the last time at least an average to above average quarterback made it out of the AFC? What, Joe Flacco? Peyton Manning, his final season as the Broncos starting quarterback? That was it. This conference has too many elite quarterbacks to think that you're going to win without having one yourself. When you're in a conference with aliens, you got to fight with your own alien. And the Steelers have the capability of being able to do that if they can nail whoever they draft that quarterback in next year's draft and they get it right there. But rebuilding does nothing but set that rookie quarterback up in a situation that won't allow him to have success early. He may struggle, and then you postpone 3-5 years how fast you can become a contender. If the Steelers just keep their core now, understand that you're not going to win this season. You might not win next year with your rookie quarterback. But in 2027, with the drafting that Amar Khan has done, doing pretty well, and you continuing to have a lot of cap space to use at getting high-level free agents, the Steelers are in great shape to be contenders 2-3 years from now. But rebuilding does nothing but postpone that 4 more years. So it's in the Steelers' best interest to not rebuild right now. Keep running it with your same core guys with the thought process that we're trying to get a young quarterback and we are trying to build for the year 2027 to make our big run. There's no difference between the Ravens, the Bills, and the Steelers coming up short in the playoffs, because at the end of the day, if the Steelers should rebuild because they can't win in the postseason, then so should the Ravens and everybody else, because it's all the same. Rather, if you lose early or if you lose late, you're still watching the Super Bowl from the couch like the Steelers and everybody else is. Tanking and rebuilding in the NFL doesn't work like it does in the NBA. Trading a few guys is not a rebuild. Trading 3 Hall of Fame level players is a rebuild, and it doesn't produce a lot of success. The last team that tried to rebuild this way were the Cleveland Browns, and it didn't work out for them. Because there's no guarantee that the guys that you trade away and get draft picks for and you end up drafting to replace them are going to be as good or even 50% of the players that these 3 guys are. Just rebuilding in the NFL is just an idea that I strongly disagree with when you're a consistent playoff team. When the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were coming up short in the early 2000s with Tony Dungy, and they had guys like Warren Sapp, Derek Brooks on that defense, did they say, let's trade these guys away and rebuild because we keep coming up short in the postseason? No. What did they do? They fired Tony Dungy. They traded for John Gruden. In their first year with Gruden being the head coach, they won the Super Bowl. With the Steelers, they just need a quarterback. And with them planning on drafting one next year, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to rebuild and you put that young quarterback at a disadvantage.